friends, welcome to Liquid Space Discussion. We're going to go on a journey with...
Hi, everyone. Jason X, that's right.
Heck yeah, my hubby.
I didn't know I was supposed to say my name there. I thought you were going to say it.
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean, we're doing this a little different here because we're together in the same room, and you're my husband, and I love you, and...
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting for me because I don't have to like think of dick jokes like off the top of my head. Like this is actually gonna be like a deep discussion.
No dick jokes required. Although I mean, if you want to throw a dick joke in there, I'm not gonna be opposed to it because laughter is.
It's the best medicine.
It's the best. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think.
It is the best.
Like it is like laughing is my favorite thing to do. Period.
Heck yeah.
So
tonight we're going to dive into Mind, Body, and Soul with you.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I am excited. This is, like I said, it's going to be different, and it's going to be with you, which is, you're my favorite person. So I'm going to
Oh my God, you're my favorite.
Isn't that wild? Isn't that
crazy? That shouldn't be that crazy.
I mean, I would hope not. Hope not.
I know. I heard some new statistics about people getting married nowadays, and it's like less than like 40% stay together now at this point.
Ugh.
Or something.
That's not good odds.
For the age demographic below us.
Yeah.
What's that, Gen Z?
I don't know the generations. I don't know the anniversaries, and I don't know the generations.
Did you know our children are Gen Alpha?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where do they come up with these names? Like, who gets to do that?
I don't know. I want to
like,
do
who
that.
figures that out?
Unfortunately, we're like millennials. I won't exactly say unfortunately. There's a lot of really good aspects of it.
Yeah.
But we are so on the cusp of it that I don't know that we are true millennials. You know what I mean?
Do you agree with that? Like pre-millennials?
Yeah, something like that.
But we're not in the previous generation, which I don't know what that is. That Z, X?
That's X.
X? Yeah.
Yeah, it's boomers, then it's X, then it's us millennials, then it's Z, and then apparently the next is Alpha. Which is our
it makes sense because if you're at Z, you gotta go back to A.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like the names of the hurricanes, where they just keep cycling through the alphabet.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah, like each hurricane that comes up, they do the next letter, and then depending on what the previous gender name was, they go with the opposite gender name. Oh. So if the last one was
Did you see the thing where they started like including like they're gonna more urban names is what they said?
Urban names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they got some backlash about that, and then I think they went back to just like letters and.
Why can't it just be names?
Well, I think
like
it
a
was
name's
like,
a name.
Wasn't it like Greek mythology and stuff for a while? I think it was like they were going off of like mythological names.
They do that all the time, and it makes sense. Like there's already a story attached to it, right. So.
Okay, we're so off the rails already, shit, guys. So I did something with Christy that I did not do with Kevin, and I'm gonna ask you, what is the best way that you think you communicate, or a way that you like to communicate? Ooh. How do you communicate best? Because this show is about communication and getting deep and learning about people, and I think communication is very important, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
That's interesting. I mean, as a regular podcaster, I mean, verbal communication is kind of my thing.
Yeah, is it though? Because
hey, Fenton.
Hey, Fenton. In some settings, you're not as verbal as you are here, and in fact, if you know him off screen, he is the exact opposite.
I'm a pretty quiet guy, believe it or not. When I'm not telling a story, that is.
God, your stories just go on forever. I like to cut them off in the middle of them because they just go on and on.
And that's purposely done. That's purposely done. But I am definitely more of... I know that. In real life, I am more of an observer than anything. Like, I love to be the fly on the wall, so to speak.
Yeah, but not in a creepy way.
Yeah, not in a fly on the wall, not a guy in an alley.
I don't know. I think you're not a fly in the wall either, though, because you get engaging and you speak when spoken to. A fly on the wall wouldn't do that.
Right.
That's not you. I think that's a bad analogy for you.
Well, I guess it's one of those things of like I don't start conversations usually.
No, I'm
not a conversation starter. But if you engage me with a conversation
Thank God
of something.
I engaged you.
Yes.
We wouldn't be
And
together.
then I engaged you.
That's true.
How about that? Look at that.
I don't have my ring on right now. We were doing stuff from the attic and
we didn't want to get messed
garbage
up and things like that.
We were cleaning out the attic, folks. I had it was dangerous, so we took it off. But.
That's right. But yeah, like if someone is engaging me with something that I know about or I talk about, I'll definitely talk about things like that. But I always feel like I have a hard time in general social situations. Like, I hate talking about myself, which sounds so weird because I do this podcast thing. Like,
where you talk about yourself.
Where I talk about myself all the time.
I think that's it. You get it all out here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Fatten. Yeah, we did just celebrate an anniversary.
Are we 9 years?
9 years
How
together.
How did that happen?
Seems like yesterday.
How did that happen?
It's crazy. But anyway, yeah, so like I have a hard time talking about myself or bringing up things that are just, I can't just walk into a room and be like, hey guys, guess what I'm doing?
No.
It seems to me like, I don't know, it's very conceited way to start conversation. It just in my mind anyway.
I mean, the thing is, like, a good conversation, I'll say, is a back and forth. You give a little, take a little, vice versa, because that's how conversations work. If nobody knows anything about you, how do they continue to talk to you? They can't learn your interests if you don't start saying them.
Well, yeah, it's true, but it's also a thing of like, if
you just can't get there.
Well, I need someone to start it. Like, hey, are you interested in fucking spaghetti or something? And I mean, it's like, I love pasta,
spaghetti,
right? And then we can exchange recipes at that point. But I'm not just gonna walk into a room like, hey guys, I fucking love spaghetti. Isn't this great?
Okay, exactly. Yeah, no. Okay.
Yeah, so I would say
you speak when spoken to.
I speak. Yeah, speak when spoken to. But I. Like, not only verbal communication, but, and this is going to sound really strange, probably to a lot of people, but I think a lot of ways that we communicate even is in jokes and comedy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I can get a point across in a joke or a pun a lot of times a lot better than, like, trying to figure out what the fuck my emotions are at the time.
Emotions are hard.
Emotions are hard as fuck. It's a hard thing to know how you're feeling and then to express that. It's difficult, but like, hey, you know, if I got a joke that kind of gets the point across, I'm gonna
see that only works with few people, though.
I know
that only works with people that you know and you know their comedy style. You do that to the wrong person, and they're gonna rip your head off.
And there are some people, and we know some people that like they don't have a sense of humor.
That comedy don't work on them.
Comedy doesn't work, and then when I like,
it's not that they don't have a sense of humor.
No,
they
it's
have
just
a different sense.
It's
of humor.
different. Yeah,
that won't track the same way it does with somebody else.
No, like they're not here for the yucks. They're here for like the kind of sarcasm and snide comments, and not snide comments now, but kind of one-liner zingers kind of thing. Like.
No, they're there for shock value. That's their comedy style.
Right.
Shock value comedy style. Not so much
which is valid and is hilarious.
Oh yeah. I mean, it is a valid form of comedy for sure.
Right, but
you won't get the same reaction that you think you're going to get from somebody else that
right, but there's no dad jokes or none of that. Like that's not gonna fly in that crowd, and that's more my speed. So sometimes when I'm faced with that, I don't really know what to do because like I communicate via jokes and laughter and comedy.
Aha, let's break the ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but when I'm so serious here.
But then when I get crickets, I'm like a humming. How about spaghetti? You know, that's great.
Right on. Okay, so. Verbally and comedically, I love that. It's not like I didn't know that.
Right.
Would you like to get in our first one?
Our first one. What are we starting off with?
Well, mind, body, and soul. I think we should start with mind.
With mind.
What comes to mind?
What comes to mind? So we were gonna do this show a while ago, but life happens.
Many moons ago.
And I was thinking about it. You know, because you did the first one with Kevin, and then you did one with Christy as well.
I mean, you've had the most time to think about this than any of the guests that I've previously had.
Right.
Which were two.
Which both of them were like, we'll just do it live.
Yeah.
Like, not live, that we recorded it, but...
We'll wing it as it goes. Wing it.
And, you know, they did a great job. Yeah, you know, you got to lay off the carbs, Patrick. But yeah, you know, I'm a big pasta fan.
He is, and it gives me heartburn.
So I've been thinking about these prompts, and when I was thinking about it, and one day I was on my run around the neighborhood, and it came to me about like what I really want to talk about, and a lot of it has to do with mind, so we'll start there and we'll see where it goes.
Mind.
But the thing that, like, when I think of mind, body, and soul, when I think of mind, one thing that I think I really want to talk about, because it's really important to me, is having a positive mindset.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. It's kind of wild.
A lot of people don't. And
I really don't know how some of them make it through life, honestly.
It's strange, and
it just drives them in a different way, I guess.
It does, but it's one of those things where it's so unhealthy to have kind of a constant negative mindset and a constant, like, not doom and gloom, so to speak, but
some people are.
Some people are.
Some people are very doom and gloom, and everything's the worst that they've ever been, and it's the worst they've ever seen. And doesn't matter how good anything is. That's just how they perceive the world.
And, you know, we moved to Florida 2 years ago, and before that, living in New York. And I hate
the weather was doom and gloom.
I hate to do this because, like, everyone just, you never want to, like, at least me, I don't want to be like, it was all New York's fault and everything's bad about New York. I never go to New York. But
no, there
is something there to where you are surrounded by the gray, the cold weather. You don't get out in nature. You don't really get out in sun too much. And then there's kind of like this, for lack of a better term, kind of like dark cloud over a lot of people's, like, the way that they view the world.
Right.
And it's one thing that I definitely noticed.
I worked at Wegmans as a cashier. I saw that every day. There were mostly people that would just come through and they're like, head down, you try to make a joke, nothing, continue on. And it's like, I can't do that.
And I was that way forever. Like,
a lot of people are.
I just remember, you know,
Patrick, not you though. You're right.
You're wonderful. Don't ever change. But it was definitely an eye-opening thing when we moved here, and every day you walk outside and it's either sunny, warm. I mean, even in winter, like, we're only getting to like 55.
Right.
You know, it's not anything close to the negative 20.
Every once in a while we hit the 30 and I got to cover the plants.
Got to cover the plants, put a sweater on.
Yeah.
Maybe light a fire.
I know. I got so many good sweaters that I just can't seem to part with, but like.
But you don't ever use them.
But, well, I mean, I use all of them in like 2 month span, and then they get washed and back in my closet.
That's true. Or if you're going in the middle of summer, if you're going into somewhere where there's AC.
Yeah.
Because that bitch is cranked all the way the fuck up.
All the way up.
And, but anyway, so I was thinking about this, you know, once we moved here and seeing the sunshine a lot more, the warm weather, being able to go outside, being able to be more active, it definitely got me in a much more positive mindset. And I definitely think I had a positive mindset in New York, but now it is like, it just feels like it's irradiating more.
Right. I can see that.
And one of the things that
not everybody here is positive though.
Oh, well,
no.
No, I mean, that's definitely
it's the case. Just easier to be positive, I feel like. There's more things, there's more light, there's more activity, there's
and that plays a huge role. But also, to your point, like, if you're a negative person,
you're a negative person.
You're a negative person. Yeah. And I always thought, you know, kind of growing up and looking, because you hear these like stats. Like, I remember hearing a stats like when I was in high school of being like, you know, if you have a pessimistic outlook on life, you're going to live 20% fewer years than somebody who has a positive.
How do they know?
One.
I
don't fucking know, but like
where are they getting these statistics?
Yeah, where's the science?
Where's the science?
I want sources.
Cold hard facts.
I want a peer-reviewed journals. But that's one of the things that always stuck with me, and I was just like, you know, oh man, I am kind of a negative person. But looking back on it, I wasn't necessarily a negative person, but there was kind of this, and I don't know if it was definitely part of like the wrestling community, that I was in, to where there was this like competition to be
Is this when you were in like high school, or like right out of it, or a little bit of both?
Well, high school, you're going through a bunch of changes.
I was going to say, if you're negative in high school, there's reasons. It's called hormones.
Well, high school was horrible for me. Like, I know you, like, we talk about this all the time. Like, you had a good high school situation. I mean, you had fun in high school, you said.
In the school part of it,
Sure.
There were a lot of not great things about that time for me.
Yeah, for sure. I was lucky enough to have Christy and the band that I was playing in to get me through high school, but everything else was horrible. I hated the whole thing, and I had such a negative outlook, and I never wanted to, I just wanted to get done with school. I always had the dream of doing wrestling, so I was like, as soon as I get out of school,
this is it.
I can finally like focus fully on wrestling and get into it and stuff like that. But doing the shows and being around the people, and I love everybody who was a part of the wrestling thing, but there was definitely this mindset of like, oh, we gotta go to the next show, and it's gonna do this, and it's gonna be hard and
everybody loves to hate on something.
Yeah, and thinking back on it, I'm like, that shit was awesome, and we just spent so much time.
And now, I'm going to pause you here, and now that you have done wrestling somewhere else that is here, that has a completely different script about the whole situation, is even different perspective on it.
Yeah, it's a even wilder perspective,
right?
And let me tell you something, folks. The people down here know how to make money at wrestling. That's something they never teach you up in New York. It's how to make money. That's when someone says I'm disappointed. I only made $200 in T-shirt sales tonight. I'm like, I sold 2 T-shirts ever.
Well,
and one of them was to Patrick.
Did you? Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Hey, Newman. Nice to see you, buddy.
Howdy.
And so there was this like I said, like this competition to be negative, but like this awesome stuff was happening, but we couldn't allow you weren't allowed to allow yourself to enjoy it.
Right.
For fear of, I don't know. I don't really know what it was.
Well, I think in some things, there's like camaraderie over like hating a thing.
Oh,
too,
of course.
That like some things you just don't, that doesn't compute for other things. Whereas then like when you're in a pessimistic and everybody's doing things, and we all know half of them are really fucking hard, like driving the truck at 3 a.m.
I mean, that shit sucked. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like I think at that aspect, of course, everybody loves to hate on it. Everybody loves to shit on something sometimes. So
you're absolutely right. Like there was community in that misery at that time. Like
misery loves company.
Yeah, driving 2 hours through a snowstorm to get at 6 a.m. to unload the truck, and all there's open is the Godfather's Pizza at the Hess station.
And they ain't serving what you want.
No, like those are miserable times, but those are the times that I remember the most.
Right. I mean,
and yes, Patrick, 3 shirts. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. But thinking back on it, like that stuff was awesome. And once I got here, I realized like, no, it's okay to like stuff, and it's okay to be positive about things. And in fact, you get so much farther in life with a positive mindset and a kind of a more can-do attitude. And it really did start, thinking back on it, like it really did start before we got here.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, hell yeah, we throw on Jimmy Buffett radio and live our best life.
and I think it really started with strangely enough, and I know this is going to sound really weird, I think my positive outlook on life started when my dad died.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Because it was one of these things of like, it was such a traumatic event to happen. It was so unexpected for it to happen. And it was a real like punch in the face of like, oh, this thing ends. Like this isn't forever. And it's
nobody's promised tomorrow.
And it can happen at any time.
Yeah.
And once that dawned on me, and once I realized that, I'm like, oh, I have to do something. Because at the time, like, I was working a job and I felt I was lucky to have that job in the first place, which is true. I was lucky to have that job.
I mean, yeah.
It got us our house and it got us off our feet, or on our feet and all that good stuff.
It did good for the time.
It did good.
But you outgrew it.
But when I got that job, I was in the mindset of like, oh, I got this job. Yes, we're finally getting somewhere. This is, and I only have this experience because of everybody else I saw before me. I'm like, this is the job I'm going to have for the rest of my life.
I mean, that's all you knew. Everybody else you knew that worked there.
Yeah, stayed there. It was one of those things. And it was security. And it was one of those things of like, this is where I'm going to be. And then when my dad died.
You saw what he was doing.
And I saw what he was doing. He worked at a job that he hated his entire life. And when he died, like 2 people from his job came to his funeral.
Mm-hmm. Well, his good friend previously died.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. I mean, his good friend like died 2 months before, which was wild.
Riding it out together.
And then he had his good friend from work, and then his boss, who was not a good guy. I don't even know if he's still alive or not, but not a good guy. I feel like realized how shitty he was to my dad the whole time, and he was very emotional at the wake, and kind of realized like how fucking shitty he was the entire time because he was an asshole.
Yeah.
And so once I kind of like saw that, like, wow, like my dad worked at this place for so many years and 2 people showed up. They don't give a shit. He hated his job. He did it for us, which I greatly appreciate.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I want to do so much more. I want to do so many more things.
You don't want to hate every day.
I don't want to hate every day. So, like, it was that, and then it was a combination of listening to different podcasts that were positive, motivating things. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 pivotal things that, like, really changed my mindset, and they both came from a podcast with Kevin Smith.
Okay.
And the first one was he talked about.
Well, he had a near-death experience too.
Well, this was before that, but but he
I was gonna say if it's after that, that kind of makes sense.
He was basically like, he was his backstory essentially is he was a nobody from New Jersey who bet on himself, put down his own money, made a movie, and then everything took off for him.
Right.
And so that was his 2 pieces of advice was bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And be who you want to be. If you, for instance, like at the time, I wanted to be a writer.
Right.
And his advice would be, well, don't want to be a writer.
Be
one.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say, here you go, here's your writing gig. Go. Like, no, you have to create that. Like, you have to take the ball and you have to make that happen for yourself.
Right.
And so
you got to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, you have to be your biggest cheerleader, and you have to go and hustle and do it and make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I started working on the comic book. I said, I want to be a writer, and it took me 2 years to write the first comic book because nobody tells you how to write a comic book.
You had to learn a lot of things.
Yeah, so like I've spent a lot of time researching and reading and figuring out how all this stuff worked to make it happen. And once that happened, and it's so interesting because if that had failed, if the comic book had failed, I don't really know what would have happened because I don't feel like I would have gotten discouraged enough to like be like, all right, that's it, I'm done. Whatever, because I still like it was done basically, but I definitely think that it would have wavered my mindset. And I'm so fortunate to have so many great people in my life that supported me to be able to do that. All my friends that backed the comic, my mom, my grandma who put up a lot of money for the book to make it happen. And so I'm lucky enough that I have that.
You've got a whole corner of people that cheering for you.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable.
Not many people have that.
No, and I'm extremely fortunate. So like I said, like I had, my dad passing was a tragedy, but I'm so blessed in so many other aspects of my life that I don't want to say that it cancels out, because nothing cancels that out. But
no, it's a learning.
Yeah, like
learning experience.
It's just interesting. But the point being is, you start making these things happen for yourself, and then you start believing in yourself. And then once you start believing in yourself, you can kind of look at the world differently.
Yeah.
In a more positive light, in a sense of, hey, I can do something about this. Like, if I want to change my career, if I want to lose weight, if I want to, whatever the case may be.
I mean, not everything can be solved with a positive mental attitude.
Oh, well, of course not. Of course not.
But it doesn't fucking hurt, man.
But a negative one does nothing.
Exactly.
A negative one only cuts your legs out from under you. And not only a negative mindset, but one of making excuses for the sake of making excuses.
Right.
Of being like,
not so much having a positive mental attitude, but just not having a negative one.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the thing. Is I think everybody has their own inner voice and their own inner demons that, tell them they can't do something, or they tell them that they're not good enough, or they don't look good enough. They're not smart enough. They're not skilled enough. Whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And half the battle, I feel, is like telling that voice to shut the fuck up.
It really is. It really is. And once you start doing it once, and then twice and 3 times, and it gets easier and easier to tell that voice in you that's like, hey, no, I am good enough. Mm-hmm. And you start to believe it, because you should.
Yeah, you definitely do. And once you have a success, you start to look at that and say, well, I had this success. Well, why can't I have other successes?
You can.
You can.
Yeah.
And but they may not come as easy.
Right.
But you can still have those successes. So, and I'm not saying like I'm always positive, because there's definitely been, parts in my life that have not worked out.
Right. It's just knowing that you got to try to get back to that.
Right. And
you gotta strive for more.
You gotta strive for more. And I think that's kind of the catch-22 with a lot of people and people's perception of other people. Like, I'm sure a lot of people see either like my Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case may be, and they're like, oh man, like he does a lot of cool shit, and he's always doing shit, and he's always, positive and all this kind of stuff.
I mean, you are always doing shit.
Well, I am always doing shit, because like life is short, folks, and just go learn to scuba dive or something. It's fucking awesome. But they don't see the failures.
Right.
Because I ain't posting the failures,
honestly,
guys.
Who does, though? Like, that's social media. That's just daily. Like, nobody's going to be like, hey, how you doing, to the cashier, and tell him, like, well, my dog died. Right. I got these bills coming in. My fucking car's breaking down. Like, no. They're like, oh, everything's great.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, people will see, like, we post about living in Florida and all this kind of stuff, but, what they don't know
is the first year we were here almost fucking broke us.
Yeah, like, literally almost broke us. Like, I lost my job after we just bought a house.
Medical issues. House issue. Almost didn't get the house.
We almost didn't get the house. The house started to fall apart immediately.
COVID shit.
COVID happened, and
canceled vacations,
and then unemployment wasn't paying anything.
No, we were living.
We lost all our savings.
All of our savings.
So like nobody really knows about that.
I mean,
stuff.
they do now.
I mean, they do now because we just said it. But to try to keep a positive mental attitude to that was impossible.
Yeah.
Like, it really was extremely hard.
I mean, I was having a lot of mental issues because of my medication and stuff anyway.
Sure.
So like on top of that, depression and.
It was a rough time, but like
I will say, for me, that was the hardest year of my life so far.
Oh, 100%.
And I've been through a lot of shit.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I mean, you almost died in pregnancy. So like,
yeah. So that's saying something.
That's saying something. It was a rough fucking year.
But we made it.
But we got through it. We got through the hard times, and throughout that entire time, so like I lost the job at the insurance company. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, this is a horrible thing because you just moved out of state. Mm-hmm. You have a brand new home. You have, 4 mouths to feed, and you have no income.
You didn't count the animals on that one.
Oh, yeah. 6? Fuck.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right? Can we talk about dog food?
Just,
the goddamn price of dog food.
You already did this on the other show. We're not getting into that, but maybe we would like to move on. So would you like a final thought for your mind then? Don't fucking ramble. I will smack you.
But let me go a little further first.
Okay.
But like, throughout that whole time, I thought this is an opportunity. As horrible as things are, it's an opportunity to change.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity.
All of it was changed, though.
I mean, all of it
was changed, whether we wanted it to or not. Change was happening to us.
Exactly. And that's the thing. You can either sit there and be like, woe is me, change, I'm afraid of it, I don't like it, or you roll with the punches.
And you learn from it, and you grow from it, and you become a better person.
Learn and grow and see it as an opportunity instead of something that's a negative thing.
Right.
And
I mean, we were also very lucky in a lot of sense of having good people around us to help us mentally and monetarily and physically, and
we had,
all of the things.
We had family and friends that...
And we had a lot of people that stepped up and were like, hey, do you need help with this and that? And that's fucking great.
And to those people, we
can't thank you enough.
And
y'all know who you are.
Be forever grateful for all that you did for us. But at the same time, I was not willing to give up betting on myself.
No, and you shouldn't.
And
I bet on you too.
Well, and I appreciate that. But there was plenty of times where I thought, like, I'm going to have to go get a job at Burger King or something just for us to live. Or just for us to survive. And it was really close to that happening. But I just kept pushing and kept trying to do things. And I was trying to, anything that I could get. I was trying to get online certifications. I was trying to do anything to try to break into the field that I wanted to break into. And... I must have sent out 300-400 resumes to try to get into something that I wanted, and
every day you filled out at least a couple.
At least, and that was going on for 6-7 months.
Right.
And it was just about at the end of my rope when I got the job that I currently have, and with that came the ultimate opportunity to say, I'm getting this opportunity, I am going to make the absolute most of it. And it has, lucky for us, it has really worked out.
Hell yeah. It could have not.
But I guess circling back and kind of putting everything into a nutshell here is that
you're gonna nut in a shell.
That's the other show. We're not doing dick jokes on this show.
You said something. If you're not doing the dick jokes, maybe I'm doing the dick jokes. I don't know.
But anyway, as to wrap it all up, basically saying is, if I had a negative outlook, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
I would still be at that job. We'd still be at that tiny house in New York. We would still be in that situation.
Although, that being said, in that tiny house in New York, we were very happy.
That's true.
So,
but
not with the house.
No, I mean,
we outgrew that.
But under 800 square feet. Like, come on now. Apartments are bigger than that house.
I love the tiny house shows, and they're like, it was 1,000 something square. I'm like,
that's not a tiny house. Our house is tinier.
I know. Fuck you. Like, it's gonna be really hard to downsize.
That's right.
Fuckers. No.
But yeah, I guess the idea is, you can't get anywhere with a negative mindset.
No.
You really, you can't improve your situation. You can't make a better life for yourself thinking, woe is me.
Even if you can improve your life, you can enjoy it.
That's the other part too.
Can a negative person actually enjoy a thing? I don't know, because I'm not a negative person, so I legitimately can't speak to that, and I'm
they can enjoy a thing
constantly in a state of I'm going to pretend everything's the best it's ever been, because I'm hoping it will be.
Yeah. And I think a negative person can enjoy something as much as they will let themselves. And usually that's
retrospectively.
Retrospectively. That's the thing, is in the moment they'll be like, this is awful, this is terrible. But then when they look back on it, they're like, all right, that was all right.
Yeah.
And if that's
some people
if that's the most
like
you're gonna get out of life, is looking back at something after it's already happened to say, yeah, that's all right. It's like, what are you doing? Go enjoy the sunshine, for God's sakes.
And I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, that's the other thing, is like, I can't speak for anybody else but myself. So their mentality on things is obviously their coping mechanism from something. It's got them where they are now. So, I mean, what works for you works for you. It don't work for me, though.
That's true. Yeah, and and that's hard to say, because, like, again, we've been very fortunate in a lot of ways. We've been very unfortunate in some ways.
Yeah.
And everyone's situation is different. You know, not everybody is going to get an opportunity.
No.
That's just the way that the world works.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could give everybody an opportunity.
But I will say to anyone that's out there that was listening to my story and basically was like, you know, he got an opportunity, I didn't get an opportunity. The point of
you got 4,000 not opportunities, though.
That's the point. Is there are so many more failures.
Yeah.
That people don't know about.
That don't see, that didn't come to fruition.
But the point is, when those failures happen, you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You have to push forward.
Yeah.
Because for those failures, there will be a success.
Hell yeah, there will.
There will be a success in there, and you just have to keep grinding.
Just got to have enough failures, right?
You have to have enough failures, and you have to learn from the failures and not get discouraged from the failures. And it is a hard thing to do.
That's me. I get discouraged from failures.
I'm
not very good at coming back from them.
It's hard. It's extremely hard.
They fucked me up, man.
I mean, they're not easy to get over at all. But you just have to remember that you're a strong person, that if you really want it, if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't always track, but...
It doesn't always track, but to an extent, if you really want it and you really are trying your hardest to make it happen, you'll get something out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, if nothing else, a learning experience.
A learning experience. Yeah. Learn from failures. Exactly.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting us know about your mind.
Yes, that's
letting us dive deep into your mind.
Dive into the strange mind of Jason X.
And that's just one little tidbit of your mind.
Yeah, no, we could have spent.
Shall we get into your body now?
I suppose.
Ooh. Do you have a pre-planned jogging?
No, I just made it through the mind, so like this is gonna be kind of off the top of my head.
Okay.
But one thing I when I think of body, the one thing I think of is how, especially after. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
You dived deep into.
Happy anniversary,
happy
Kevin
and Christy. Yeah, that's why we're not doing this. They're celebrating, ladies and gentlemen.
We love you guys.
We do love you guys, and we hope you're having a great night.
Yeah.
But with body, the one thing that I want to talk about a lot, because
the physical
is
doesn't have to be a specific body part.
Correct. You know, I put a lot of wear and tear on my body for a lot of years.
Yeah.
With wrestling, with taking stupid bumps.
You're still putting a lot of wear and tear on your body. You do a lot of shit all the time.
I do.
24/7.
I'm a very physical activity driven person.
Yes, you are.
But at the same time, the thing that like really the body is a wonderland. All right.
Oh Jesus.
And the thing.
Okay, thanks, John.
And the thing that like amazes me is kind of the body's resilience. And
fuck yeah, we got toddlers and the rubber bands, man.
Right? It's crazy.
Throw them to the don't throw them to the ground, but they'll drop to the ground, pop back up like nothing happened, and you're like, shit, man, that looked like it hurt.
Yeah, like our 7-year-old tried to do a backflip.
He sure did.
Tried to do a backflip. No practice. Just went for it.
That was confidence.
And he took a wicked bump.
Pure confidence.
Pure confidence. I wish I could, that should be bottled up and sold. It's that confidence.
He'd be a millionaire.
He really would be.
Trillionaire. Jesus.
But one thing I've noticed, I've put a lot of wear and tear on my body. Back in New York, like, I was walking around like I was an 80-year-old man.
Well, you had a lot more weight on you then.
I had a lot more weight on me. My knees were completely shot. And
you feel like they're better now that you've lost a lot of the weight?
Yeah. Like, I feel not only losing the weight, but not going up and down stairs is such a huge thing.
And for the folks, how much weight did you lose? Do you have a total? Because you can't really tell from being on the camera. Screen, really, like.
Yeah, so
he's lost a shitload of weight.
So we'll say this. So
you don't have to give exact numbers.
Oh, I'll give exact numbers. So when the heaviest I was, so I stopped wrestling in 2015, and when I stopped wrestling in 2015, I'm like, that's it. I've spent a decade of trying to be in shape, going to the gym almost every single day. I'm gonna let loose, baby.
And also, I had a baby, so then you were pregnancy eating too.
Pregnancy eating,
that was 2016.
But. Yeah. When a whole sleeve of Oreos is there, you gotta eat the whole sleeve.
I'm eating for 2. You're eating for 2 also.
Exactly.
Living your life.
And especially when you don't give a fuck after you have no motivation. Like,
well, it wasn't a no motivation. You just felt like you were treating yourself.
Yeah, and I was treating myself for a couple of years, folks, and it wasn't good.
No.
So yeah, when I was wrestling, I was usually somewhere between like 215 to 230. So I know that's a big gap, but like it would ebb and flow through there. But when I was done wrestling, at my heaviest, I was 265.
Yeah.
So I was almost, that's pushing 300. It's getting close.
Yeah, which for your frame is definitely not good.
Yeah, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. So, and I remember there was a point where I felt like I was almost starting to have health issues.
Right. Because
of the weight. And I remember I went.
You're having like a lot of panic attacks and shit.
Yeah,
too,
like panic attacks and like heart palpitations and things of that nature. And I was just like, "What's going on? This is new. Like, what could be causing this? Weird, right?" and I went and I had a physical with the doctor, and he basically said like, "Oh yeah, you're pretty healthy, except like you're really overweight."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah."
And you're like.
I was like, yeah, I know. And he's just like, no, like, you're on pace for some liver disease. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that's not...
Liver disease?
Yeah, like fatty liver disease.
Yeah, fatty liver disease, not like overdrinking.
Yeah, not like, yeah.
I mean, you did drink too, but it wasn't caused by that.
Exactly. So that was kind of like a real eye-opening moment. And then the real catalyst for the weight loss was getting mono.
Oh, yes, it was.
So I got mono.
Around smooching all them girls.
All them girls I was smooching, yeah. I got mono, and I couldn't eat really for like a week.
Right.
And when I couldn't eat for a week, the weight just started dropping really quick. Because I kind of learned that like when you get to a certain point, and once you get to that point, like, you have to be eating a certain amount of food to keep the weight that you have on.
Yeah.
And when you don't do that, then, like, your body just naturally, just by living,
yeah,
I
mean, you weren't eating a lot. You really weren't. And, like, I feel like I always tried to tell you that before of, like, telling somebody that's fat just don't eat is so like
it's like kind of fucked up.
That doesn't work, but it's also true. But it's also like you can't. It's not the right way to say it, but like there's more to it. There's much more to it, but it's also like eat less.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that was the whole, you had fasted previous to that, and I always was like, you're doing it wrong.
Well, that's the thing, and it's
but
so
if you
hard
don't know, you don't know,
because not everything works for everybody.
No,
and trying to find the thing that works for you is it's discouraging as fuck because like half the shit doesn't work for you.
Well, intermittent fasting does work for most people.
Well, that's what we'll get to. Is that so? I had mono. I started dropping weight, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to keep the ball
that
moving.
Momentum, because you had fatty liver disease coming on the door.
Exactly. So I was like, I was trying anything at that point. I was doing the potato diet.
Oh, fuck that. I don't understand.
Where you just eat potatoes. I was doing the juice cleanses. Anything I would try to just, and nothing, I couldn't stick with anything. And then I found the intermittent fasting, to where you eat for 8 hours during the day, and then after your 8 hour window, you don't
just
eat.
Stop.
And what I found is that,
again, telling the fat kid to just not eat.
To not just eat. But like, I found that if I made it a challenge for myself, and kind of tapped into like my competitiveness. You
need that. You need the challenge and the competitive.
And that's the thing with when I wasn't wrestling anything or anymore.
I wasn't pushing you.
Yeah, the potato diet, Patrick. You remember?
Fuck that thing, Patrick. That was the worst.
It was
so annoying. I'm like, what are you
so
doing?
He's like,
I'm in here boiling my potatoes for the week. You, dude, can I just like make regular dinner? Like,
I mean, you can. I'm just gonna eat a potato,
and that's why it doesn't fucking work for you, because you gotta make the diet not a diet. It's gotta become part of your life. It's gotta be attainable on a daily, and that wasn't.
And the people in your life have to be on that schedule too, or it doesn't work. And so basically, what I found is that once I started cutting out, I did the fasting. So I would stop eating after dinner.
Yeah.
And when you cut out that late night snacking, you're not taking in those calories right before you go to bed. And that's the secret.
Yeah, it is.
Right there. Is
no extra calories.
No extra calories at night. You get no extra calories at night.
You wait a little bit in the morning. You have some coffee. Chill the fuck out, people.
The weight flew off.
It did.
It flew off. And then on top, so I went from...
And that's without exercising.
And that's without exercising, yeah. So I went from 265 down to 220 just by changing.
Also, that is like changing like what you're eating too.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas like, you're not going to just scarf down only potato chips and pizza and ice cream. I mean, you can.
You can.
You can in that time frame, but you also have to think about it. Like... oh, maybe I don't need a second helping of French fries,
Oh, yeah.
Because, you can in that time span, but you got to think, okay, what would a normal person eat?
Right.
What's an average plate supposed to look like for a healthy person? We're going to go with that, and then we're just going to not continue to eat shit. And it's like, there's...
And then
once
you fast too, like your stomach shrinks and you really don't want that food.
No.
That's the thing is like after like half, 3/4 of a cheeseburger, you're like, Jesus, I'm fucking getting full here.
Oh my God. It's like when we were like going hard on it, like we couldn't eat anything, which was great. Cause like you didn't need to buy a lot of food. You didn't need to you get like a kid's meal and would have felt
and would have been fine. It's so funny because like I look back at my heaviest and we talk about this all the time. Like we would go to like Chick-fil-A and I would get a full meal and be like, oh man, I'm still hungry.
Drink the whole giant tea,
the big sweet tea, the large
fries.
waffle the whole sandwich. I'd be like, man, I could go get another sandwich. That would be
like Chick-fil-A. It's not enough food.
Yeah.
America.
But now I'm like, there's a lot of times now where I can't even finish the sandwich.
No, yeah, I can't either, and like I'm sad because I like it, but
exactly, like you want to, but you're like, I'm not gonna feel well if I do this.
No, and I always try to explain to my children that pasta and breads and rice expands. Eat less than you think.
Exactly, but then so I got down to 220, and then I got on. We moved here, and once we moved here, I was like, one thing, and a lot of it actually had to do with the 2CW reunion show. Because once I moved here, of course, as soon as I move out of the fucking state, they announced that, oh yeah, we're going to do a reunion show in like 2 years. And I'm like, all right. And I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I got to have 2 years then to get in shape and to get ready for that.
Don't get hurt.
And the one thing, and I used to, when I was wrestling full time, I would go to the gym constantly. I would do an hour run on the treadmill. I would do an hour run on the treadmill, and then I would get into the ring, and I would still blow up and die.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm doing all this work. I'm doing this hour run, like, almost daily.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting into the ring, and I'm still dying. And even then, I was like, let me go run on the street. And if I ran on the street, I would die.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is going on? So, like, when I was getting ready for the 2CW reunion show, I'm like, I'm going to run on the street. Right. Because I know it's hard.
It's not the treadmill working for you.
It's not the treadmill working for you. And we're lucky enough that, like, the neighborhood we live in is an exact mile loop.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's perfect for running.
Mile circle.
So I just started running on the street. And I got, the first time I ran, like, I had to stop like 3 times. I was like, this is hard as shit.
Plus, it's, Florida humidity.
I learned to run. If you run after 9 a.m., you're fucked.
You can't do that.
You got to run before 9 a.m. or after 8. But I was like, this is what I need to do. So I just kept doing it and just kept doing it and just kept doing it. And eventually I made it around the circle the full time without stopping. Took me fucking 15 minutes to do it, but I did it.
Right.
And then, I kept building. And as the show was getting closer and closer, I'm like, all right, well, I got to go twice around.
Right.
I got to go 3 times around.
Right.
And right before the show, I was able to go around 5 times, 5 miles, which is what I used to do in that hour.
Right.
So I was doing the treadmill runs I used to do, but on the street. And at that point, I was down to 195.
That's
that's where I am now, is 195. Right. So I went from 265 to 195.
That's a lot.
And it's all through learning what works for my body, which was the fasting. Because like I said, I tried a million other things.
And I mean, the thing is, too, like, now that we've gotten to good weights and good activity levels, like, you can have a bowl of ice cream at night, and it's not going to fuck your whole day up. Like,
no, yeah. I mean, we have treats and things like that, but it's the moderation.
Yeah.
I'm not having...
Moderation is important.
The 12 scoop ice cream. Like, I'll have, 2 and be fine.
You shouldn't have any ice cream.
I mean, I'm lactose intolerant. I shouldn't have any of this shit. No. But, we're going to live a little.
It's okay. We do chips and queso, equally bad for you.
Yeah. Not good. But... we're not sitting there eating the whole bag.
No.
Either. So
no, that's true.
But yeah, so
your diet has to work for you. It has to be attainable.
But I feel like I guess kind of to wrap up this section is
circle back around, sir.
Is that the body is so adaptable in the sense that you can go from 265 down to 195.
I mean,
it's
being
possible.
Able to eat that much is pretty resilient in general.
Exactly. So I know for a lot, weight loss for a lot of people is really hard. It was really hard for me.
It got easier and easier though.
It does. And
as you're learning yourself and you're learning the things you need to do.
And I think people want that, people want that instant gratification.
Yeah.
They want to be where they want to be, but really it's the daily. You have to do it every day. And get into that routine and get into that diet and get into that exercise and do it every day. Because that's where you see the progression is the long run. Right. And it really doesn't take that long.
No.
But it takes long enough to where you have to get over that, it's not working. It's not working. It is.
It is. But
you're just not going to see it yet.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think? A full year for you to get to 2 years to get?
It took about 3 years to get from 265 to 1.
I was gonna say, even for me specifically, my weight always came from pregnancy. I when I wasn't pregnant, I was thin. When I had babies, I put on a lot of weight. And for both Capella and Revan, it took 2 years. 2 years to get down to a healthy weight. And I think I always did it a healthy way for the most part. doing, like you said, intermittent fasting and doing the exercise. And while I don't run 10 million laps with you and row and stuff, I'm a very active person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out in the garden, or I'm pulling shit down in the attic, or I'm cleaning or running around. Like, I'm doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, daily things can be exercise.
That's very true.
I always, like, even though I didn't do workouts per se, I thought of things as workouts, and I put the effort in. Mm-hmm. While they were not specifically workouts, mm-hmm. anything can be a workout.
Oh yeah.
And any, like, you've got, oh my god, I gotta go pick up 10 million fucking pine cones. Like,
oh, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be sore.
Yeah, well, squeeze them abs, put some effort into it, mm-hmm. make it a workout. I don't know, man. Mm-hmm. Turn it into some squats.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the effort that you're
right.
putting into said activity that makes it the workout. That's my thought.
Definitely agree. Agree.
But yeah, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good body. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to move on to soul?
We're gonna move on to the soul.
What sets your soul on fire?
Sets my soul on fire.
So we've had religion for soul.
Mm-hmm.
You could do something that you love.
I think
what comes to your mind when you hear the word soul?
So when
meditation, there's so many aspects to it.
Yeah. So when I think of soul, like, I think of, like, consciousness. And, I'm conscious.
Tune in.
I'm here.
Turn off, drop out.
I'm in this meat vessel.
Yeah.
That we have, but, like, my consciousness is my mind. And, I'm not a religious person.
No.
But I do feel like there is I guess from my belief, I believe in energy.
So is your soul energy? Is your energy soul? Is it something that drives your soul? Is the energy?
I feel like
everything.
I feel like we're all connected by energy.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like your energy of your soul is, what you're taking in, what you're putting out.
Was this like your aura situation?
I guess, but, like, I don't have any crystals or any of that fucking shit. Like
your aura is very yellow today.
No, but I guess the idea is that, we take in energy, we put out energy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time,
we are energy.
And everything is energy. And it's kind of the idea of, like, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be dispersed. Mm-hmm. Because, we eventually, when we all die, we will go back into the earth to be our energy put back into where we came from. And thusly, like, the stars and shit, and we're all part of the universe and energy and shit.
I had a weird dream that when we die, we just go to a different multiverse.
And that's another thing. Like, what the fuck's up with that? Like, and we can get into
maybe
some of
I'm
that
not
shit.
wrong.
I mean, here's the thing about religion that bugs the fuck out of me.
Does he forgive or does he not?
I mean, we don't know about
no,
Jesus.
We're not getting there. We're not giving back.
The jury's
that's
out
a different show.
Yeah, that's a different show. But the thing that bugs me is everyone's so certain.
Yeah.
People who are certain that there is this.
Certain you should do this.
Certain you should do this, or certain that there's nothing. Like, those people bug me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
there's no way there's nothing.
The fact of the matter is, you don't know.
Right.
Whether you believe, whether you don't believe.
Well, I think there's no way that there's nothing in the sense of we're here.
Right.
And energy itself is a something.
Right.
And that's a very tangible thing in our world, so.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. You ain't wrong about the multiverse. Fucking A. Like, I still think. Well, honestly, I think we're in a simulation, but, like, we can get into that too.
Oh,
if we want to.
and your simulation is different than what my simulation.
Well, reality is a singular experience.
Oh, we fucking know that for sure.
So, but before we get into all that, going back to this, so that's one thing that bugs me is that people who say this is how it is or this is how it isn't or the fact is you don't know. And if you think you know, I view that as being a very...
selfish fucking thing.
Not selfish, but it's so close-minded. It's close-minded to the fact that you don't think that there's any other possibility out there.
I think that's my biggest pet peeve in people, being closed-minded.
Yeah. I think so, too.
I can't deal with those people. I need to just walk away.
And I think it's an ego thing more than anything. Like, they feel like they either have to be right, or they hope that they're right.
Or they know that they're right because somebody told them, and if that person is wrong, then all of existence doesn't, and everything implodes, and they can't compute.
And I'm very comfortable in the idea that I don't know.
Yeah.
That I won't know.
And that you could be wrong about everything.
And that I could be wrong about everything. We could just be like that fucking Rick and Morty episode. We could just be a battery in a car.
Yeah, or a Men in Black, a marble in space.
Marble in space. Like,
in the locker or whatever the fuck it was.
Who the fuck knows? I don't, and I'm not going to.
No.
That's not, and I think part of me is so happy about that because I don't have to worry about it.
You get to live in ignorance.
I get to move
bliss.
on. I get to go worry about other shit. Yeah. Like, I don't have to, like, I do have, like, everybody has these existential crises and this, moments of mortality.
I was going to say, we've been dealing with the idea of mortality a lot recently, you and I and our families.
Yeah, like, we both have grandparents that are getting up into that age to where, it's
they need help now.
They need help, and it's becoming, you have to deal with it. And you're old enough now.
Whereas previous to this, when our great-grandparents had passed, or grandparents possibly, but like, we were young and we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to really think about it other than to just mourn.
Right.
And be there for grandparents or parents or whatever. But like, and I think that's kind of the thing. We're older now. We're more cognizant of what's going on. We actually have say in things. That's what's going on.
Which is wild.
We definitely didn't make before. Decisions. Well, some of us more than others, and I think that's the thing. That's dealing with death because it's staring you in the face. Is a different feeling when you get to our age.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it definitely makes you look at things differently, and it definitely I always have this feeling of, and I don't know, I'm as much of a positive person as I am. Like, I am always a worst case scenario thinker. Like, I am that person that thinks like
everything's gonna die, but it will be okay.
No, like, I always think like when I walk out the door and I get into the car and I start the car, like, a thought for just a moment always comes in my head to say, you might not come back. Like, I always have that, like, in my mind of, like, you could get into an accident, and that could be it. And then...
Oh, I don't think like that. Only when I get the bad weed, then I get too high, and I think there's going to be tornadoes, and everybody's going to die. But that only happened a couple times.
And it's one of those things of, like, the thought comes, and then I think about it, and I'm like, that might happen, but I have no control over that.
No. It's out of your control.
And that's not a way to live your life, is in constant fear of the unknown and the constant fear of what could be.
Right.
So you drive to the store and you get your goddamn groceries and then you come home.
Yeah.
But anything could happen at any time.
Yeah. Tell the people you love that you love them.
Yeah. And I've learned that, especially with passing of my dad, that you might not get that chance. I told you this the other day, or a couple weeks ago, was when he went into the hospital, and he was only supposed to go in for kind of a more routine procedure.
Yeah, that was all fucked.
And he didn't come out. But when he went into the hospital and we went to visit him, me and my dad, like, we'd never had... we never said I love you or anything like that. Like, that just wasn't. It was implied.
Your family does love differently than some. Like, my family is I'm gonna tell every one of you motherfuckers I love you and hug you and kiss you and annoy the shit out of you with it.
Right.
And other families aren't like that. They just don't do that, and that's not wrong. It's just how they grew up.
It's just how it is, and And when we were there and we were saying goodbye, and you're a hugger.
I am a hugger. I love hugging.
You were a hugger, so you hugged my dad.
I hug strangers.
And when I saw you hug my dad, I was like, oh, what the hell? And I gave my dad a hug. And I don't even remember the last time I gave my dad a hug. Like, it may have been when I was a little kid.
Right.
And I gave him a hug, and like that was the last time he was awake that I saw him.
Yeah.
And like I told you this the other day, like I'll never be able to thank you enough for almost forcing me to do that. Initiating it. But now I have that.
Now you have that.
And I'll always have that. And it's so important to me. Mm-hmm. And from that, I've learned to always tell the people that you love them. Mm-hmm. Always give that hug. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if it comes off as weird, or if other people think like, oh, that's weird, or it's an awkward moment. It doesn't matter, because you have that then. Yeah. If something happens, like, you have that. You've expressed how you felt. You've gotten that hug in, and nobody can take that away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fenton says, making decisions of your elders is a hard position to be in, but you prove yourself when you really can handle it. That's true. It brings a lot of things out of you that you didn't know about yourself. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's a great point, is like dealing with that kind of adversity.
Yeah.
And overcoming it is it's huge. Yeah. Like,
and it's like, the thing is, like, for our family, I can't speak for everybody's families. I know some families are different, but like when you love somebody, you're trying to do the best thing for them, but you're not them.
Right.
And so you can only make decisions based on your knowledge and the knowledge the people around you and your other family members are giving you and telling you, and the choices you have available to you. And just hope that you're doing the right thing for them, because who fucking knows, right? Like, when we get that age, I hope we have a say in what happens to us, but at the end of the day, at some point, we won't.
Right.
And and
it's funny too, because we talked about that. It's like, that's the goal.
Right. The goal is to get to the point where somebody else is making that decision for you.
Right.
Which is wild.
Because, like, if you get to the point where you've lived long enough to where you either need the assisted living, or you live long enough to where you get to go live with a family member, or you live long enough to where you get to, you have to make these type of decisions. Like, that's what everybody wants.
Everybody, you made it.
You made it to that point. You made it
to the golden years.
Yeah, you didn't get killed in a car crash,
or a plane crash,
or have something tragic happen to you. Like, you made it to the finish line, to the point where you can't take care of yourself anymore. And that's best case scenario.
That's wild that's the goal, even though it's scary to see. But that, like, at the end of the day, you hope that you get there and that you're still surrounded by your loved ones.
Yeah.
And that you get to go peacefully with your loved ones around you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, as hard as the decisions are, like, our grandparents made it to that, and that's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. When you think about, like, the odds,
right,
and you think about, like, everything that people had to live through, especially our grandparents, who've lived through how many fucking wars that they've had to actually live through, and bombings and just fucking random shit that could have happened to them, and they made it. Like, it's impressive as fuck.
Right.
And at the same time, like, it kind of goes back to, like, the whole point of this conversation, which is the energy factor of it. Like, it's scary, to think that, that's the finish line. That's the goal, is to get to that point. But, like, I also feel like a person's energy, when they get to that point, has such a huge impact on their quality of life,
right,
as well. Because, you read these statistics, and again, I want to see the sources and the facts, and the journals.
Where's the scientist?
Where's the science? Where's the facts and figures? But, like, the positive outlook, the positive mental attitude towards your life at the end of your life, is what determines your quality of life.
Right. I mean, that's the thing where you hear like, oh, they just lost their will to live, and that happens every day in nursing homes, and you hear about people that do. Fuck Padme, she had kids. She's selfish as fuck.
What a bitch.
Right? Here's your newborns.
I don't want to live anymore.
Anyways, but like you hear from people that do in-home health care or that work at assisted living or see people at the end of their lives for whatever reason. And that is a thing when you get there and you don't have the will to live because your quality of life is different, because your life in general is different and your attitude towards life is going to be different.
Right.
And it's obviously very hard to have that positive spin on things when you're in your 80s and you've had the second stroke and everybody has to do everything for you and you know there's not much anyways.
Right.
Like that, I'm sure if I were in that position, which hopefully I am. How fucking crazy is that? Like, I get it. I get you lose the will to live and it just ends and you're there. But I mean, for me, I hope that it's with family and that I'm in a good place in my life and I've made the decisions that I wanted to make, or at least, you know, I'm fine with them or whatever. But that's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal, and that's wild.
Right? It is wild. And I think, you know, going back to the topic of energy, you know, I've talked about my dad a lot on this, but like there are times when like I'll have like dreams per se. And dreams are strange in the fact that like you spend half of your life dreaming or sleeping, right?
Yeah.
You spend half of your life sleeping. Your mind is active.
It's going somewhere.
It's
that
going
energy
somewhere.
is doing something.
And it's getting into kind of more of a
you getting into my dream where we're going to different dimensions?
Well, I guess like the idea of like, oh man, that was just a dream.
No.
Oh, it was just a dream. Well, you spend half your life dreaming, and what makes that half less real than the half when you're awake? It's still half your life.
This is why when our kids wake up screaming with a nightmare, I never tell them it's just a dream. Right. I've never once done that. I've never once diminished their dream. You move on and you say, well, you're awake now. It's okay. You're safe here.
You're safe here. Yep.
And you move on that way because it was real. It was real to them. And it's just by saying, it's just a dream. That's diminishing, obviously, because I don't know what's out there, but also it's diminishing their feelings, I feel like, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, because they're terrified.
They are terrified.
They're terrified. And to diminish that is really disrespectful and disregarding their feelings at the time. But there's been plenty of dreams, for instance, where like my dad's been in the dream and he's just been there.
Yeah.
And he's just there. And I feel like, you know, that is his energy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, interacting with my energy in just a state that I can't understand.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, I often have dreams after people pass. And it's usually in my dream, I'm like, oh, you're not here with us anymore, or you're here. And they're just like, yeah, I am.
Right.
And you have conversations and you go on like nothing happened, or maybe you talk about it even. And it's like, how are you getting that? You know, like there's something there. And it's like, even people that I maybe haven't seen in a long time, or I don't currently know, or like anything. And it's like, they've come to me and it's like, why? You know, because the energy's there. It's whether it's just because it's energy in my own mind or it's energy somewhere else. It's there.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't go away. And that's the thing that kind of gives me the most comfort about death is if I can still feel his energy.
Yeah.
Then that means that my energy is still going to be there even when I'm gone.
Oh, for sure.
And hopefully, I'll be able to interact in some way with our kids, their kids, whoever.
Right.
And I think, we used to watch them fucking ghost shows.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to ask you like that. If you feel like the energy is something that's more tangible too, like, seeing something that reminds you, or if that's just more of a memory thing.
I think it's more like, so we used to watch them fucking ghost shows, and those are all horseshit.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think to an extent, I don't think that there can't be things.
No,
I think those shows specifically are horseshit.
Those shows specifically are horseshit. But like when it gets you thinking about like the afterlife and ghosts and things of that nature, like I just feel like anybody who has one of those experiences that truly feels like they have that experience and that they saw something or they heard something, I feel like that is either a person's energy or the energy of the universe or the earth or an animal or whatever the case may be, interacting with them in a state that they cannot understand.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like, and if we're getting even further into fucking belief and bullshit and whatever
this is liquid space. We're on a journey, folks. We're gonna dive deep into the weird, and why not? Wonderful.
I feel like we as people, as living things in life in general, we are receptors for energy.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that we are here is to have experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And to have our experiences, and if there's a God or...
Are you going off into your consciousness thing?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Yep.
Let's let her rip.
So if there's a God or creator or master of the universe, He-Man, whatever...
No, it's not a man.
That's true. Because...
Sorry.
Ain't happened. But if there's a thing, I think that what this thing does...
It's Count Chocula out there sucking up
Count
all
Chocula.
The life energy of everybody.
Whoever or Mother Worm.
Yeah, Mother Worm.
Mother Worm, whatever the
Hail
case may
Mother
be.
Worm.
Hail Mother Worm. We have our experiences. We are receptors of energy, and then our energy takes our experiences and reports back to whatever this thing is, because the idea is that if you want to understand life and if you want to understand the experience of life...
We're just computers?
You have to take in everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything. This all-powerful thing would have to know what it's like to be a millionaire that got everything handed to them. Or they need to know what it's like to be a child that died of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you understand.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of me thinks that we're
consciousness being uploaded to...
We are a part of a simulation because we are the learning experience for that thing.
I don't think it's a simulation, though. It's just what it is. And that's why there's so many of us learning every different thing in every different aspect.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know.
You know how, like, what the saying, the truth is stranger than fiction.
Right.
Right? Like, you hear the craziest thing that happened to the craziest thing that happened to the craziest person. It's like, how? How did all of the circumstances? Because that's life.
It's what it is.
It's the energy. This thing attracts that thing that detracts this thing that pulls the other thing, and all the puppets are dancing.
Yeah, exactly. and that's part of the reason why I am so, I am trying to do everything I possibly can.
You can't.
To have the most experiences. Oh yeah.
It's the circle of life.
Circle of life.
There's more to see than can ever be seen. More to do than can ever be done.
So you can't do it all. You can't see it all. I mean, that's just the facts. Like, I hope we make it to Japan someday, but like, we'll see.
I mean, we're supposed to go next year.
Well, we'll figure that out, I guess. But the idea is for anybody who is the worst thing to me, And I have a story. I know we've gone longer than we thought, but like I don't even care. We can go to 1 a.m. I don't even care.
I mean, I do. I don't want to do that.
But the worst thing to me anyone could ever do.
To you?
No,
or just to do.
To do in general is being too scared to try.
Yeah. That's, and I mean, we're all that person for something, though.
Of course.
Like there is something that everybody is too scared to do, too scared to say, too scared to try, too scared to experience. Mm-hmm. There's something for everyone, and it will be different for every single person.
And I guess that's it's all relative to what you want to do, because like
it's all relative to your experience and your perspective as well.
Exactly.
If everything you've ever known is terrible from this one thing, you're never going to do that thing, whether it's a positive thing or not.
Well, right, but for instance, like I'm too scared to skydive because I don't want to.
Right. Whereas I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this.
And I'm like, no, thank you. But I was also too scared to go scuba diving.
And here you are.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, but it's an opportunity for a new experience, and I'm going to try it. And I did.
And you love it.
And it was amazing. Mm-hmm. So I get that fear.
Can you imagine now never of doing it, though? And now you're like, wow, this is something...
Right.
It's magical that not many people get to experience, and it's so fucking cool that now I've been to the liquid space.
Exactly. And folks, it's wild down there.
It's another goddamn world.
You're down there and you realize, we're not supposed to be here.
Right.
It's like this is their world.
I've never gone scuba diving, so I can't speak to that. Hopefully someday I'll get certified as well. But like I've been snorkeling quite a few times, and I grew up here in Florida, so I know the wild ocean.
Exactly.
Gulf of Mexico, rather, but
Gulf of Mexico, yeah.
And it's a whole new world, man.
Mm-hmm. And I guess so. We'll close this out then, and just say that when it comes to soul, I believe in energy, and I believe that energy cannot be created, energy cannot be destroyed. Yeah. So
it can only be changed.
It can only be changed, and when this life is over, and my energy either moves on somewhere else in the cosmos or this world or whatever, or it gets absorbed back into this planet, it's still going to be there.
Well, I mean, our energy can't leave the planet unless you build a dick rocket.
That's true.
So
yeah, you got to Bezos that.
You got to Bezos that and get your energy out into space and go fuck space or something.
Yeah, your dick energy out in space. We're doing the dick jokes whatever.
And we're at the end. This is the fun part. We get to hear fun party stories next.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we dove deep, and now we're gonna bring a lighthearted and maybe give a fun party story that people don't usually hear.
See, that's the hard thing.
I mean, you let out all the fun shit on the other show. I don't know that you got as much to share here.
I know. This is a hard one because
I mean, you can do some fun ones that I've been to or some that I don't know.
Trying to think.
I don't know that there's
not much you don't know. Period.
So okay. So don't use me as a good basis then.
A good. I know Christy told the flower story, so like that one's already out. What is a good? I mean, with the wrestling party,
you can do more than one too.
They're epic, but I feel like they've been told
1,000 times.
1,000 times.
Any good ones from our adventures?
From our adventures. I mean, yeah.
I don't know if we can change.
I think that like, oh man, I didn't think of this part ahead of time, so this is hard.
That's fine.
I guess I'll just kind of tell some.
Ooh, give a birthday party story or something from the childhood, maybe.
Okay, well, I'll tell this story.
It doesn't, doesn't have to be an adult party.
There was a So I'll say this: there was my 21st birthday.
Yeah, I was there for that.
21st birthday party.
Just barely.
Yeah, you were in and out. We didn't really know each other.
There's so much more to that.
Yeah, so much more going on with that. But so 21st birthday party. Basically, we were doing the bar hopping thing.
Right on.
And we're going bar hopping. We started at the pool hall.
That's the part I was at.
You were at the pool hall. I was at
that part.
So we shot some pool. And then we ended up at this one place. I believe it was called like Shamrocks or something. It was like this.
That was the place we went to for St. Patrick's Day one year.
Yeah, and it was Irish pub / music venue.
Right on.
Type of thing.
Shitty hole in the wall place.
Everybody was that came out.
Was everybody shitty already by then?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And they kept going and. They were like, and at the time, the flavor of the month was the car bombs.
Oh, yeah.
People were doing that, and I don't drink beer, so, like...
Fucking car bombs.
So people were like, hey, we're going to do another car bomb. You're the birthday boy. And I'm like, God, my stomach hurts. Guinness is thick, and I don't like it. So, like, I'm like, okay. So I was, like, super shitty. But at one point, at the bar, getting passed around was this goddamn beekeeper's hat.
A beekeeper.
Or it was either a beekeeper's hat or a space helmet. I don't even fucking know.
I thought it was a welder's cap.
It could have been a welder's cap. I don't know. And what it was doing at an Irish pub / music venue
/ being passed around.
Who the fuck? So there is this picture of me and Newman from the chat, and we are both wearing this thing, and I don't remember the night
or the picture.
So. To my surprise, the next day, when everyone's just like, "Yo, you gotta check," and I'm just like, "What the fuck?
What is that?
What is that? What is it?" Like, I still don't know exactly what it is.
You made it home all right, or did you?
Oh yeah, everybody took care of me.
Right on.
So made it there, but
not passed out in your lawn.
Yeah. No,
not that time.
No, but speaking of Newman and Christy is involved with this one. I remember this was kind of an impromptu party where we got invited over to Newman's pool and we were swimming and we decided to get a bottle of Captain Morgan's Tattoo that had just come out. It was new at the time.
And the lesbian band made it popular to be
Dido?
No, Tattoo.
Oh, right. All the things she said.
That's not the same people.
Sure it is.
No.
And so we drank that, and I remember...
You got another beekeeper hat?
No, I just remember being like, we were swimming, and it was great, and then at some point, we just kind of forgot what was going on, and then I was like, looking around, I'm like, where's Christy? And I'm like texting, and she's like, oh, I left like an hour ago. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm like, where's Newman? I look, and he's sleeping in the lawn.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like...
Didn't make it.
That was fun.
Lord.
But I think my all-time...
Okay, what? I was... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no,
I was just going to ask what your favorite wrestling
this is what I was getting at. My all-time favorite party story of all time.
Of all time. Which
is Susie's Tavern with pro wrestling. It was a paid show at this bar in Auburn, New York, where
middle of fucking nowhere,
in a bar doing a pro wrestling show, and all the fans stuck around afterwards and everybody got shitty. And I even didn't.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird stories of like everybody else was so shitty that I was just like, I don't need anything. Like this is keeping me entertained enough.
I was gonna say, when you choose to be the DD, sometimes you're just like, I'm in for a good fucking time, and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to feel like shit the next day. This is gonna be great. Not right now, but later.
Yeah, and this comes back to like me not being the most social person,
right?
Because the one thing I love, so I love to laugh. That's my favorite thing in the world. I love to watch some fucking wackiness.
That's why we like Ebor.
go down right in front of you, and you're just like, that's a fucking wild thing that just happened, and I got to see it, but I don't have to deal with it.
No.
So that's the best part. And that was the entire night at Susie's Tavern that night. Fenton, being a DD can be awesome. Yeah. Or the fucking worst. That's true.
It's either or.
Depends on the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching everything happen, and there's so much to tell in this story. So I'm gonna do my best to recap. Cliff notes. So
I was gonna say this story has been told a few times.
It's been told not on my show. Not on the. So if you're first time watcher of this,
I feel like Fenton knows the story.
Fenton knows the story, but you could probably do it beat for beat. So I'm gonna start at the beginning. So we get to the tavern, and we had done a show the night before. Mm-hmm. So everybody.
So this is a 2 in a row situation.
So it's a 2 in a row situation, and everyone, they did a little drinking the night before. But not anything crazy.
Never go hard on the first day.
Never go hard on the first day, and always wear sunscreen. So,
yeah, drink water.
So we get to the bar, and we set up the ring, and we're just kind of waiting for the show. And before the show, and it's a paid show, and it's one of those things of like nothing significant is happening on this show.
Okay.
And it's one of those another thing of like my match.
Everybody's just chilling.
Everybody's just chilling.
Okay.
There's no expectations of you don't have to put on a 5-star match, so you can just go out there and have fun.
Right.
Is the idea.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everybody loves that.
And it was a blast. The actual match I had was with the man Kevin Graham, and it was a good fucking time. Mm-hmm. Kevin Graham and Pun versus me, Portia in the cage, and it was easy and fun, and we got a good reaction. But before the show. We had everything set up, and my boy Cosmo buys me a shot of Jack. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, thanks, man. That's great. So we have the show, and then everything's starting to happen afterwards.
Right.
So afterwards, I come out after the show. All the fans are there, and
everybody's having a good time.
Everyone's having a good time. Pun's arm wrestling people for money.
Fuck yeah, why not?
And doing like a whole tournament thing. So I go, my boy Cosmo's up at the bar, and he's macking on a girl.
Right on.
And I'm like, I'm going to be the best wingman of all time.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to help my boy out, and I'm going to go up there, and I go, hey, get one for me and get one for her, too. So I'm like paying him back, and I'm helping him out.
Right on, right on.
And he just looks at me, and he's like, yeah, thanks, man. And so, like, we all go cheers, the three of us, and we throw it back, and I see the girl go, up. And I see her go, and it all comes out all over the bar.
Baby girl. How old were they?
I mean, they were probably 21. Like, they
were
okay.
So young, not fluent in drinking and shit.
Yeah. And
hopefully.
And I look, and Cosmo
it's like, oh, fuck.
Looks over at her, sees what happens, and he starts laughing.
Well, yeah, what the fuck? What are you going to do?
So I start laughing.
Oh, this poor girl is dying.
And, well, she had friends, and they were helping her.
Oh, okay. They're like, oh, no, Jessica.
So I'm like, oh, wow, that was wild. And then I look over, and there's a guy who's sitting on the pool table, and he's kind of getting woozy, and he just fucking pukes all down him.
Oh, sympathetic puker.
And it is all over him. It is all over the floor.
Oh, no.
And then I see a fan run across the room and do a baseball slide through that puke and stand up like he won the Super Bowl because he wanted everyone's approval. And I'm just like, this all happened in a 5-minute span. So I'm just like, this is the wildest shit I've ever seen.
Okay.
And then there was another guy who I this is why I leave the
clearly that was a good choice, but then you missed on
all the story, man.
Unless you're a sympathetic puker, then the good choice.
So then there was this other guy that we know, who I will not name, who apparently thought it would be a good idea because it was a party show, essentially. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to take mushrooms while going to this show.
I mean, that sounds great.
Well, he took too much.
Oh, no.
So he is...
Wait, this is before the show or after the show?
He took it before the show during the show, but then started drinking with everybody else that was drinking.
Right
so
on.
I'm watching this guy, and he is. And are you familiar with the game Mortal Kombat?
I mean, absolutely.
So if you know the game,
you know how old I am. Of course I do.
Well, I don't know if you weren't really into video games, so I just want to make sure.
Everybody knows what Mortal Kombat is.
So when you get down and you're done and they go finish him,
yeah,
the guy who lost is doing this kind of like
the weeble wobble,
the more, and he's just doing that.
Oh no!
And we're all looking at him like, finish him? Like is someone about to rip his spine out? Like what's going on? And I see him kind of take like one step towards the door.
Oh.
And then he's just like one step back.
Oh no!
And he does this for 20 minutes.
Oh no!
And he's trying to leave.
He's stuck.
He can't.
He's stuck in a loop.
He's stuck in a loop. And I'm just like, there's something wrong with him. And then someone else like, yeah, he's on mushrooms. I'm like, oh, that's fucking wild. And so finally, like a bunch of people are trying to help him.
Like let's get you out of here.
Let's get you out of here. And he's like slowly walking to the door. Oh, and then they open the door and they're trying to get him out. And then he just like pops open both arms and grabs the door frame. And he says, I'm not leaving.
Oh, no. No.
And everyone's like, no, you gotta go. And he's like, I'm not leaving. And then he starts getting aggressive. And everyone's like,
oh, fuck.
The drunk guy on mushrooms is gonna start swinging.
Oh, fuck.
And again, you have to remember, at this point, this is all happening in a 20-minute span of everything I just saw.
Oh, Jesus.
And then this is happening. And at that point, I'm like, it's time to go.
Yeah,
It's time to I've seen
this
enough.
Is enough.
I've seen enough. I have this story. It's wild as fuck.
We're good.
But I don't want to be here when homie starts swinging.
Swinging and there's more puke and who knows.
But eventually what happened was that, they got him out.
Right.
So things started to calm down
good.
a little bit after that. But man, that was the wildest party story that I have that I can remember.
From wrestling.
From wrestling, yes. From wrestling.
Right on. All right. Do you have any other stories you'd like to share, or do you think that's
I think that's a good one to.
It's a good. That's a good note to say adieu.
Adieu on.
Well, thanks for coming on and sharing. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we could talk for 10 jillion years.
Yeah, I mean, we could just keep going, but
that's what we do.
But we've gone for almost 2 hours now, so I think that's.
I mean, that's pretty on par though thus far.
Yeah.
Thanks for diving deep with me and sharing a little bit of you and your mind, body, and soul, and some fun stories and having a good time.
Yeah, and not having to necessarily yuck it up the whole time, getting a little more serious.
No, we don't have to. Dick jokes are optional here.
They'll be tomorrow night live on this channel. But I do want to say I'm very proud of you for doing this show.
Oh yeah.
I'm very happy you seem to enjoy podcasting, which I didn't know that you would necessarily enjoy it when we first started doing it.
I mean, I can talk.
You can talk.
It's sometimes I gotta get warmed up to it, but I mean, who doesn't?
Who doesn't? But I'm very proud of you. I think you're amazing. You're my favorite person.
Oh. Happy 9 years.
Yeah, happy 9 years, and I can honestly say, I was telling you this the other day,
Should we do a little relationship segment?
Yeah, I mean, what
because
the fuck? Let's
this
do
is
that
this is a different situation than our other
than anything
members
else
and shit. So
yeah, I would like I was saying the other day to you, like I can honestly say like I've never been happier in my life.
That's
I mean,
true.
It's been a long road to get here.
I mean, yeah, and I think like that's the thing. Like when we have our friends that are like, oh, relationship goals, or you guys are the cutest, or like. We worked to that.
Oh yeah. We've had to go through some shit to get there.
Hard for that, and there are things that people will never know and will never understand about us and why we're so strong and why we're completely devoted to each other.
Yeah.
But also, my idea of a relationship and your idea of a relationship is probably very different than a lot of people's.
Yeah, and it's
built on trust and love and understanding, and I think most of all that last one.
Yeah,
understanding,
and not only understanding, but I know one of the things that we definitely went through a rough patch at one point.
I mean,
as everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just one.
No.
It's never just one. And I think we're learning and growing together more every day. Even now we have a week where I'm like, I'm fucking pissed at you.
Right.
And it's like, do I love you? And at the end of the day, we're going to make up and talk it out and shit, of course. But that doesn't mean we're immune to having issues.
And we say it on Don't Be an Asshole a lot, but like communication really is so important.
Yeah, and it's not just communicating the good things, it's communicating the bad things.
And then that's the hard part.
And communication works both ways.
It does. And it's one thing of like, I know with a lot of people, and it was with us too, early on in our relationship,
it was hard to say that bad thing.
Yeah, like you don't want to upset the other person.
Right.
And you
say the scary things.
Say the scary things of things that you don't like or you're unhappy with, because you love that person and you don't want to make them upset. But at the end,
and again, that's not for everybody. That's us.
Yeah.
So somebody else may not have issues telling you exactly what they mean and think, and that might be hard for the other person listening.
Yep.
For us specifically, I didn't want to hurt your feelings, and I didn't want to scare you, and I didn't want you to not like me, and I didn't want you to think bad things of me or whatever, with whatever I was thinking at the time. So I just wouldn't say the things, and that's a detriment to both you and me.
Right.
When I'm not saying the things, because I'm not true to you and I'm not true to me.
That's true. It's true.
It is true.
Fenton, I appreciate you all. This channel, my friends here have helped me through a lot of years. I love you all. Well, we love you, Patrick.
You too, Patrick.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I miss most about New York is you and the boys and that kind of stuff, and seeing you guys. So never be afraid to say you love you. Never be afraid to tell people how you feel, and especially if somebody you love and you're in the relationship with, you have to tell them how you feel. You can't be afraid to tell somebody how you feel if you're going to spend the rest of your life with that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you're walking on eggshells for your entire life.
That's not good. Also, the thing of communication is learning the other person's communication style is very important. And being able to calm yourself down to talk in a way that promotes growth. And listening to the other person and thinking, you know what? Maybe I'm the fucking problem.
That's a real tough one to,
and honestly,
to understand.
Even if you are the problem, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, and that's good, because then you know where to go from.
Knowing you have a problem is the first step. But
it is, though.
It really is.
Honestly, if you're like, I'm unhappy with XYZ, oh, maybe it's me, but you got to talk it out with the person, and it's not a bad thing knowing that you're the problem.
Right, and I think that was one of the things when one of the times where we were having issues was that either I was doing something that I didn't know I was doing,
right,
because it wasn't being communicated to me, and then when it finally was communicated to me, it threw me. I was so caught off guard.
You could have taken what I said bad, or you could have taken it a different way or whatever instead of listening.
Right. And listening is so important.
That's easy to do when somebody's telling you something's not good.
Right.
It's easy to be like, oh, defense mode.
Yes.
And sometimes that defense mode doesn't solve anything.
No, but it's really hard not to go there.
It is,
because you feel like
not everything's an attack. It's you're bringing the issues to light because you want to fix it, not because you want to attack the person.
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing with people, is like when somebody's saying something's wrong, whether it's you or them, or maybe it's neither of you, or maybe it's both of you. The things are being said because there needs to be a solution, not because it's it's your fucking fault.
Yeah, it's your fault, and you ruined everything, and that's that. And it's like, that doesn't do anything.
No,
that's not really what's happening. But your mind tells you, like, oh my gosh, this person's unhappy, and they think it's my fault. But what did I do? Like, it's not that. But that's what your inner voice tells you. And I think one of the most important things that you have to do to be in a successful relationship is being open to the fact that you're not a perfect person.
Nobody is.
Being open to the fact that, the person, you have flaws, the person you love has flaws, the person you love is going to have issues with some of your flaws, but also that the person that you are is also not the person you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Who is also not the person you were yesterday. Like, we are all constantly changing people.
Yeah.
And as long as you're willing to change with the person, or at least being accepting of the person they are changing into.
Right. I would say, like, from when we met versus when we had our first child versus our second versus any other milestone in between there are different people. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not necessarily a good thing. It's just people change. Yeah. And there's no person that will be the same person forever, every day of their life. No. There can't be. There shouldn't be.
No. I mean, if you are growing as a person, you are going to change as a person.
Exactly.
So the idea is to have the person that you're with to grow with you and change with you, and being accepting of that person that they're changing into.
Yeah. Being opening to listening to. I think listening in communication is just as important as communicating the things, is being able to receive the things being said to you.
Right.
And not taking them to heart instantaneously, but putting yourself in a different position, putting yourself in their shoes, taking yourself and looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing to do.
It is.
It's not easy, because you have your point of view on the situation.
But the only perspective you have is yours.
Is your own. So, like, you have to work at taking yourself, your ego, your point of view out of it, to try to put yourself in that and try to see it from that point of view. And then when you see it from that point of view, you still may not agree with it.
No, and that's fine too.
But at least you can see it so that you can communicate with the person from their point of view.
Right.
So that maybe they can see your point of view. And they may or may not. But as long as you can create kind of that understanding, and you can land in a place where you're like, okay, we may not agree on this.
I know where he is, and you know where I am on this topic. And even if we don't see eye to eye, we're going to find somewhere to bridge that gap and meet in the middle.
Exactly. And I think growing, listening, and compromise.
And baby steps.
Honestly,
baby steps is a huge one in our relationship too, is like, you can't explode all the things you've never said all at once and get the person to understand.
No.
Which I did to you. Sorry. Apologize. But I mean, sometimes when you let things build up and you're gonna explode, and you should say the things all along, honestly. But I didn't want to hurt you.
Right.
And you didn't want to hurt me, and it was but it was hurting us.
It was hurting us. Not wanting to hurt each other hurt us as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, when that did happen and I was caught off guard, from that experience, we learned that, you need to say what's wrong while it's happening. And I need to be open to that feedback.
Without taking it
straight to heart. Well, not straight to heart, but not taking it as a personal attack.
It's never personal.
Right.
At least I mean, in our relationship. I can't speak for every. Some relationships are shit, and some people suck, and they will attack it as an attack.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing of, like, knowing the person that you're with's intent as well, on top of the things they're saying too.
Right.
And you can't really do that right off the bat. You've got to get to know people and learn.
Yeah, and know how your partner works and thinks, and how they're going to best receive the feedback you have for them.
True. Yeah. I mean, the delivery is...
It's important. It's extremely important.
I feel like this isn't just even like a relationship, but like this is a friendship relationship too. This is any kind of relationship with your parents and
kids.
Like, kids is like communication is important for every kind of relationship. Obviously, you're going to have different issues with different people. Like your boss and you are going to have different issues than your husband and you, and like that's just obvious, but communication nonetheless is important, and learning the people and reading people is important as well. And it's like I know some people really struggle with reading people in general, and and I get that because everybody's different.
Everybody has different social cues, everybody has different perspectives, and sometimes it is hard. Like some people who show little to no emotion, maybe inside screaming with joy.
Yeah,
you just don't know.
Deeply emotional.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't know, and figuring that out about the person you have the relationship with is the key to learning how to communicate them, which builds the stronger relationship.
Right. Talk every day. Learn about the things they love. Learn about the things they hate. But don't just learn about it to learn about it. Take it in.
And I think, like we said, vocalizing things that are bothering you, but also not nitpicking.
Right.
Either. Because there's a fine line.
Right.
There's a fine line between saying, I'm unhappy with you because of this, or, God damn it, will you stop chewing your nails?
I do that.
I know you do that.
Oh, it annoys me. It's not good for you.
Well, bad habits are hard to, fucking stop and shit.
Jesus. Oh my God. Any other relationship things? Like specific maybe?
Specifically, I just feel like...
More love, not less love.
That and one thing I don't understand is specifically about like romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Is I don't get the idea of the fake disliking of your partner.
Oh yeah,
like the old ball and chain kind of thing, and oh boy, the wife here, I don't understand that, because like the person you pick is supposed to be the person you love and the person that you respect and you want to be with, and to have that. And I know there's a lot of people that have that relationship, and if it works for you, that works for you, that's great. But I feel like, to me, like
that's not ours.
It's not ours, and I feel like it would create like this weird negativity there.
Weird dynamic.
Situation. And it's one of those things of like, if that's your dynamic and it works, every relationship is different.
But I feel like also to that extent, if you're constant with that like there's a grain of truth there.
There's like a weird resentment of some kind.
Something that's not a positive. And
and
that's not us. So I guess again,
that's why we're
positive people, and we don't have the pessimistic outlook or do, things like that. So I think that could be part of why that doesn't make any sense to us. But
that's true.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm not here for that. More love, not less love, and that's how I feel.
That's how I feel as well. And I feel like kind of going back,
that also goes with like people that are like super insecure too.
Oh,
like when you have like the people that are like, oh, I don't know, are they doing something behind my back, or like, how dare them look at that lady like that, or like.
And it's weird too, because we both have the same perspective of like, why would you have, like,
who cares?
Like, if you're not, like, leave.
Yeah.
Like, why would you go cheat on, just leave if you're not, I mean, obviously, like, people's situations are different, and, like, if you have kids, that would be harder than not having kids type of thing, but, like.
Also, I think, like, from my perspective is, like, we're human.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I'm going to find somebody else attractive.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm leaving you. You're my human. I'm my person, my one and only, like.
Yeah.
me finding somebody else attractive has nothing to do with our relationship at all. In the fact of like, we're animals. Like, that's
a biological thing that you can't control at all.
And it's to be like, oh, you
looked at another woman.
Oh my God.
Oh my
how
God.
dare you? It's like, that's so insecure for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's an insecurity on you, and it has nothing to do. It's an insecurity with your relationship. It's an insecurity with yourself. It's not. And it's like, if you took yourself out of that for a second, you would know, like, of course, but I'm lucky enough that they picked me. Of course there's a hot lady in a bikini down at the other end of the fucking beach. I'm looking at her too. But like at the end of the day, you don't love her. You love me, and you've grown with me, and we're built our life together, and it has nothing to do with us.
Right.
You know? So I don't know. But I know there's a lot of people out there, like the Christians, that are like super monogamy, hardcore, whatever stuff that like I just can't wrap my head around it. Because like in my heart it's like more love, not less love. If you love somebody else too, that I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like obviously I don't want you to go, you know, marry. Where I'm not into like the sister wives shit, but like but at the end of the day, I can honestly understand that more than I can the super monogamous, crazy, don't look at anybody else, you got to wear a burqa, or like the religions that are absolutely no anything anybody else. And it's like, that's not real.
Right.
That's not conducive to love and loving other people
and your own biology.
Yeah. And so I mean, like, again, I'm not here for sister wives, but it does to say that your love for somebody else has anything to do with your love for me makes zero sense.
Right. Yeah.
None whatsoever.
And everyone's different.
And everybody's, again, I mean, that's not to say that like being ultra monogamous is bad either. Like, I love that for you. That's your way of love. But I think at the end of the day, for me, and I can't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wrap my head around telling somebody they need to love less. Like, I'm not telling you to go find somebody else. Like, that's not what I mean. But it's like, at the end of the day, when you love somebody else, what this is your guy friend or this other friend from work, or you can love them. We're like, we love Patrick. We fucking love Patrick. I mean, we love Kevin. We love Kevin and Christy. And it's like, your amount of love for other people has zero anything to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to love all those other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy that, and I want that for you, because I want you to have the most love out of your life that you could possibly have, because the more love you have is the more love you can give to me as well.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that I get less.
Exactly. Because that's
in fact, I get more.
You get more. Yeah, exactly.
Because there's more of it going around. I don't know. Again, this is just my perspective on that. And I'm sure I would get many a nun's panties in a bunch. And would be burned at the stake for thinking the thoughts that I think.
You are a free spirit.
Oh, I'm like a gypsy. That's a joke for two. That's a joke for three. That's a joke for three.
That's a joke for three.
Yeah,
I think that's about it. Like, everyone's relationship is different, but at the end of the day, like, as long as you communicate.
People, of course we love you.
Fenton, you're amazing. You're one of the best dudes I know.
A lot of people love you.
Exactly. A lot more than you know. So
it's true.
And that goes for everybody, I think.
I
think that, like, there's a lot more people care about you and think about you and love you than you'll ever realize.
No, exactly. And it's maybe somebody you never thought of. That one lady in the store that, said thank you to you a majillion times and brightened your day, hopefully.
Yeah.
And like, in that moment, you're very important.
Yeah.
You're so important and you have no idea.
You're so important that they went out of the way to thank you.
In that moment.
In that moment. And
that's just in that moment. That's not the people you touch on a daily or yearly or
your friends or whoever.
And it's like, if I think about it too, it's like there's a bunch of people on my Facebook. How often do I talk to them? Barely. But do I love them? Abso-fucking-lutely. And if they called me and they're like, yo, I need XYZ help and blah, blah, blah. Don't ask me for money, though. I mean,
we're poor shit. So, like,
we don't have any of that. Sorry, man. But, like, I will sit and talk on the phone with you for hours if you need that. Like, just because we don't talk doesn't mean I don't love you, and it doesn't mean you're not important in my life. And I feel like there's so many people out there, like, just living in misery, thinking that nobody loves them when they
don't even know.
They don't even know. You don't even know how many lives you touched because we're all energy. And
that's right. I'm gonna end it on this quote, and it's the best quote. Money can't buy you love.
Love can't buy you
shit. So, but it does bring me happiness.
It's true.
So,
and I love you a lot.
And I love you.
Is there anything else we want to plug? But you got a show tomorrow.
So we got a show tomorrow right on this network, Brain Wreck Live. We do this show it's supposed to be Wednesday, but the Lovebirds are celebrating an anniversary. Congratulations.
We don't do this show every Wednesday.
No, not this show.
No.
That other show.
This show is...
it's fluid, like liquid space.
It is very fluid, just like me.
That's right. Yes. And other than that... subscribe to this network.
Go on some more Liquid Space adventures with us. I hope we'll have some more guests soon. We'll have to get something in the works. Maybe Patrick would like to come on.
Yeah,
with us.
Patrick.
Would you like to do a Liquid Space? We'll get in touch.
We'll get in touch. We'll make it happen.
We should get some other people on.
Yeah. Because everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has a different mind, body, soul.
That is the best part to me. I love hearing people that don't think like I do and trying to understand. And if you don't think like I do, that's great. I love to hear it. I want to hear it. Let's talk about it. Try everything. Try everything twice.
Try everything twice.
Well, this episode, I have been Blakely K.
And I've been Jason X.
And we'll see you later.